A couple of Sundays ago, I was on the train, and amazingly, I was on the train to meet people from this church. It's a number of Sundays ago, and I'm on the platform in Greenford Station. And there's a girl who walked on the platform, and she was coming near to me. I was like, why is she coming so close? And she's going closer and closer. She said, you Adrian, right? I said, yeah, you remember me. And we started talking, and she started to ask loads and loads of questions. And what I'm realizing in this day and age, a lot of Christians are being battered and beaten left, right, and center. They're being thrown at questions, and it's challenging their faith, and they have no ammunition to respond. And what I did a number of years ago, a lot of the young people at my church said they were in Bible studies. I didn't want to put it at my church because I knew that it would be a bit too restrictive for time. So I had it at my house. And over the weeks, you'd see loads and loads of young people come to my house, and what I did, I said to them, listen, as you're in my house, make yourself at home. As you're in my house, put any question down, anything you want to study, and I said we're going to answer it, using the Bible and the Bible only. Amen. No opinions, but the Bible. And the young people were flooding in. If you were to see my living room, it was so packed with young minds hungry for truth. And I realized that when young people start asking questions, you have to give them answers. Amen. I realized over the years, and old people as well, brothers and sisters, because many people who are searching for answers and they're not being given to them. When people are challenged with questions, what they do, they brush it under the carpet because they're scared. Now, I'm the type of person, personally speaking, I'll be honest, I love challenges. Back in the day, I just used to love literally going up Leicester Square in central London and having it out with Muslims. I used to love it. I used to get the joy out of it, and I was just raw and rugged. Now I'm converted, amen. But back in the day, it was just really exciting, and I used to like my faith being challenged. But when they used to throw questions at me, I'd like it. I'd listen, go back home, and it made me study and study and study more. And a lot of these young minds, trust me, a lot of them do want a lot of answers. And even in my church, I'm not a Sabbath school teacher there anymore, but I realized the young people, they were just so hungry, and I just feed and feed. And sometimes I'd always get into trouble nearly every week, because Sabbath school is meant to finish around 10:30. My Sabbath school class is sometimes finished at about 11:30. Because the young man was like, we want more, and I'd always get in trouble. They'll beat me up in the church. They were messing up the young people and some parents have said this is the only reason why my children come to church, because they're being stimulated and they're being fed with truths. And I'd always have to be searching what's going on in the music, seeing what's going on in video games. And some of the young people now were at my church were coming to me, telling me about the latest films and the hidden messages. So it's good when you challenge them, even these young minds will go back and research. So I think it's always important that we challenge people and stimulate people's thinking. It's important. And we're living in a day and age now where every single thing you believe is going to be challenged. Everything is going to be challenged. I've been reading for years books which are challenging everything we believe, not just Seventh-day Adventists, but Christianity full stop. And we're going to have to get to a stage where we're going to have to study so thoroughly that nothing can shake us. So I pray that through these studies on the book of Daniel and the Revelation, that things are going to be very clear. I want to make these studies clear. Sometimes over the years, I've watched studies on the book of Daniel, and they're so in-depth, your common man can't understand it. And during these studies, I want to make it so simple that everyone who leaves will be like, it's so clear. Amen. So this study today, what I'm doing, I'm laying a little groundwork for the rest of the days. So just lay the groundwork, but I want to show how the book of Daniel is a reliable book to read. Because it's, I don't know if you guys know, but the book of Daniel is the most targeted book in the Bible. More than any other book, historians say there is no way one man can chronicle empires from the 7th century BC to this very day. They say it's impossible. And since the book of Daniel has been written, it has been targeted and challenged and brutalized. I'm going to even show you the quotes from Wikipedia, and I'm going to challenge every single one of those quotes. Anytime a challenge comes, you have to be able to answer it. Amen? Amen. So we're going to show how the book of Daniel is a reliable book. And during the course of this week, I'm going to go through different things which will verify the authority and authenticity of this book. And I pray that you will have the right questions to answer. Usually, most Bible studies I do, I always allow people to dialogue with me, but over the years, the book of Daniel, because it's so been highly neglected, a lot of people who have been studying it, they come up with some very strange ideas and they want to challenge and they want to argue. So that's why we're not allowing questions at this time, because in our church, there's people who are very, 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 very argumentative. And if their voice isn't heard, they get very aggressive. So we're just going to allow question time, maybe at the beginning of each session, each day. So if you've got your Bible with you, turn me to the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 20 and verse 20. 2 Chronicles, chapter 20 and verse 20. And when you've found it, you know what to do. Thank you for those two quiet amens in front. 2 Chronicles.
Amen.
Thank you, my brother. 2 Chronicles, chapter 20 and verse 20. And the title of this study today is, Can We Still Trust in Prophets? 2 Chronicles, chapter 20 and verse 20. Everybody found it?
Amen.
The Holy Scripture says, And they rose early in the morning and went forth into the wilderness of where? Tekoa. And as they went forth, Jehoshaphat stood and said, Hear me, O Judah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem. Believe in the Lord your God, so shall he be established. Believe his prophets, so shall he what? Prosper. Let us pray. Dear Father in heaven, we want to thank you more than anything that you're still having mercy upon a sinful people. Dear Lord, it is not by chance that every single one of us are in this room today. It is by your providence. Dear Lord, there are many people at this time who are really struggling and who are really searching. And I'm praying, dear Lord, that that desire they have, that you'll fill that need. Please just bless this church, Lord, because we are going through a very intense Laodicean period. But dear Lord, as you said in Revelation chapter 3, though your church is in a very bad state, the worst state ever in the history of Christianity, you still said, Behold, I stand at the door and knock. Amen. In other words, Lord, no matter how far we've drifted in our journey, no matter how messed up we are, you're still calling us to come back home. So the Lord, we just want to thank you that you have mercy upon us. And I'm praying the Lord that during this week, as John the Baptist said, I must decrease and you must increase. So Lord, I pray that you become the center of this study. I pray, Lord, that people will leave here challenged, and that people will leave it, Lord, going home, and they'll get on their knees and see where they have to be in their relationship with you. So just please bless the study. In Jesus' holy name I pray. Amen. At present, I'm doing a couple of trailers online. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Adrian McQueen. I do a ministry called Even at the Doors Online. And I do a lot of studies dealing with current affairs and giving people guidance on what's going on in the world. And at the moment, I'm working on a study on the book of Daniel. And a pastor called me up a couple of hours ago. He's a pastor from Canada, but he's actually a pastor in Florida. And he recommended to me that I should do an actual Bible study with the presentation, and also a presentation with the Bible study and the DVD. So this is something I'm actually working on at the moment, because I like people to have material for themselves, amen? Amen. I want people to be able to do these studies for themselves. Because sometimes people depend upon man too much. And I want people to get to the stage where they can do these studies and they can go out into the community and clearly, simply break down the book of Daniel. So at the moment, I'm going to be working on this study. I'll be doing a DVD, but I'll also be doing a PowerPoint presentation where people have the materials for themselves so they can go out and do these studies confidently and boldly. So it's important that we have a clear understanding of the book of Daniel so that every single one of us can declare our message. I want to go into a very quick study before I go into this presentation. I want to show how we can identify what a prophet is. Many people say that Daniel is not a prophet, because if you read the Hebrew Bible, which is a bit different to our King James Bible, Daniel is not chronicled among the prophets. So therefore, historians and scholars say he can't be a prophet. because he's not chronicled among the prophets. So go to the book of Matthew chapter 24 and verse 15, and we want to destroy that argument with just one text. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 15. Now the disciples are having a conversation with Christ. They knew that Christ was the Messiah, but they wanted to ask some questions. They said, Christ, we know you for real, but if you're going to return, you have to show us a little something. What's going to take place on this earth before you return to this earth? And Christ gave the disciples one book that they need to study. Amen. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 15. Christ mentioned one prophet which was very specific. And Jesus says, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by who? Daniel. Daniel the who? Prophet. So is Daniel a prophet? Yes. So the argument's dealt with there and then, amen? Yes. But if Christ said it, there's no argument. So Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whosoever you have led to him, understand. So one of the biggest arguments about Daniel that he's not a prophet, and Christ deals with that in one verse. So that's one argument which is destroyed. But how do we distinguish what a prophet is? Go to the book of Numbers chapter 12 and verse 6. I'm going to go for a very serious Bible study. Over the years, I realize I've gone to many churches and people don't want to go into the Bible. They just want to hear what the preacher says, and you have to go into the Bible, brothers and sisters. Let me give you an insight why you have to go into the Bible. In your own time, go to the book of Acts chapter 17, that's your homework. And there's this group of individuals who are called the Bereans. Any heard of the Bereans? Oh, I'll give you the verse in a second. And in the book of Acts chapter 17, the Bereans did not take what Paul said for face value. Anything Paul said, the Bible says these were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with readiness of mind and they searched the scriptures daily whether those things were so. So no matter what any preacher tells you, it is your duty as individuals to go back to your homes and set up these things for yourself. Amen? Amen. Because I realize in churches, people follow anything that somebody tells them. And you have to get to a stage in a Christian walk where you cannot rely on nobody but God. Amen. And His word. Amen? Amen. People in the churches are too easily led. And you have to say, well, my brother, good sermon, but I have to go back home and study for myself. Every single one of us has to get to that stage. So Numbers chapter 12 and verse 6. What is one of the first identifying marks of a prophet? The Bible says in Numbers chapter 12 and verse 6, and he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. Yeah? So one of the identifying marks of a prophet is that God speaks to them through visions and through dreams. But if anybody comes to you with a vision and a dream, and they claim it's from God, make sure that you follow the biblical principle where it says to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word. So if someone does have a dream, and they come to you, and the dream is not in line with this word, then brothers and sisters, you have to rebuke it. Yeah. In this day and age, the devil is giving people dreams. Yeah. So make sure, even though someone is getting a dream, make sure that the dream is according to the word of God. Amen? Those amens are very, very, very quiet. You all don't sound too sure. So go to the book of Daniel, chapter 7. And verse 1. Daniel, chapter 7, and verse 1. As I said, today, all we're doing is just laying a little foundation. Daniel, chapter 7, and verse 1. I still hear leaves rustling. I have a policy. I never go forward until I hear the last leaf rustling. Because I don't like to leave people behind, you see. Because usually before, when I was younger, I'd say a text and I'm gone. I didn't care who wasn't ready. So Daniel chapter 7 and verse 1, it says, in the first year of Nebuchadnezzar. No. Huh? Yeah, I'm just seeing if you're all following, amen. But people are very easily led, and you have to be very careful, because some people say amen. I'm like, that's the wrong name. And so I'll just test in the brethren, amen. So in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, so it says his name, Belshazzar. It says the king, his title, it says the region, which is Babylon. Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the son of the masses. So we just read in Numbers chapter 12 and verse 6, one of the identifying marks of a prophet. They receive visions and dreams. We just read in Daniel chapter 7 and verse 1 that Daniel had visions and dreams. So not only did Christ call Daniel a prophet, the very word in Daniel chapter 7 and verse 1 verifies that he was a prophet. Now what else does a prophet do? Go to 2 Chronicles chapter 24 and verse 19. I pray I got this text right. 2 Chronicles chapter 24 and verse 19. What else is a qualification of a prophet? It's not just visions and dreams, because not all the prophets in the Bible actually got visions and dreams, but they were still prophets. So 2 Chronicles chapter 24 and verse 19. Anybody found it? Amen. Thank you for those quiet amens in the back. So 2 Chronicles chapter 24 and verse 9, it says, yet he sent prophets to them to do what? So one of the real roles of a prophet is to bring people back to the Lord. Amen? Okay. Now I'm going to give a few more texts, and then I'm going to the study. So Numbers chapter 24. Numbers chapter 24 and verse 4. And it said, he hath said, which heard the words of God, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. So when a prophet sometimes is going through a vision, they fall into a trance, but they have their eyes open. In this study, I want to teach you how to defend the book of Daniel. It is the most attacked book, and I'm going to show all the arguments which are put against it, and all the evidence which supports it. It is very important that in this day and age, we defend every single thing that we believe. You know, I was doing a video online before I went into the study. I was on a video online on the Sabbath. And I was going through all the churches in history which kept the Sabbath in Scotland, in Ireland, throughout the Middle East, in Ethiopia. And many of us are unaware that churches for years have been keeping the Sabbath all over the world. It's one of the best kept secrets. And loads of these Christians were getting really aggressive online. And it looked very stupid. You know why? At the end of the study, I put a quote from the Vatican. And the Vatican said, you Christians out there, you all claim you believe in the authority of the Bible. But every time you keep Sunday, you are recognizing our authority over you. And these Christians are fighting, and I'm like, well, they just told you why you're keeping it. And I believe that not only do we, when we get challenged, we also have to challenge people as well. Amen? It is important that we challenge people. Now, as I go into this study, I'm going to show you some of the challenges which are being put forth from the book of Daniel and how you can handle them. Wikipedia says, most scholars see the book as a cryptic allusion to the reign of the Greek king who?
Antiochus Epiphanes.
Who? Antiochus IV. And the broad sense that Daniel never existed. So most scholars say the book of Daniel was probably written around the 2nd century BC, and that Daniel never existed. Now this is the topical consensus on Wikipedia. Now when people of the world read this, are they going to question it? Are they going to question it? No. According to Wikipedia again, it says traditionally ascribed to Daniel himself, modern scholarly consensus considers the book pseudonymous. The stories of the first half legendary. Hear that? They say the book is legendary in origin, and the visions of the second chronicle of anonymous authors in what time period? So they say the book was written around the 2nd century BC. National Geographic magazine in the year, what year? 1960, put out an article about the book of Daniel. This is what it said. During the last 3 centuries of the pre-Christian era, you hear what time period it said? Hebrews in Palestine circulated heroic stories about their forefathers exiled in Babylon. You hear what they say? Heroic stories. Now listen to what it says here. What does it say? Lacking tangible evidence, archaeology cannot substantiate these narratives. In other words, they're saying there is no evidence that the children of Israel were in Babylon. Best known hero of these Old Testament classics was who? A young captain whom the Babylonians called Belteshazzar. When King Nebuchadnezzar dreamed a dream and demanded that his magicians and astrologers describe and interpret it, only Daniel could invoke the great image and make known to the king what shall come to pass. So National Geographic, which is one of the most famous secular publications in 1960, says there is no evidence that these people were in Babylon. Over the years, since 2003, the United States of America and its coalition of armies invaded Iraq, which was in ancient Babylon in southern Iraq. Here are the remainders of Nebuchadnezzar's temple in the north, and here's also a remainder in the background of Saddam Hussein's temple. The interesting part of the war is that loads of artifacts were stolen, but loads were unearthed. Now we know that the war in Iraq was extremely and still is extremely horrible. It's created domestic violence. Shia, Sunni, and Christians are divided. The whole place is in ruins. But sometimes, even though there's madness taking place, sometimes a little good can come out of it. They've discovered that Nebuchadnezzar's building actually existed, but something else they discovered. Since the invasion of Iraq, they found these tablets. These tablets, interestingly, are written in what is known as cuneiform. These tablets are dated to around the 7th century BC. These tablets from Babylon, interestingly enough, have Hebrew names. Now, what did National Geographic magazine say? There is no evidence that Jews lived in Babylon, but these tablets seem to have Jewish names. What is very interesting as well, Reuters magazine, Reuters is one of the best media outlets out there. It says ancient tablets reveal the life of who? Jews in Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon. Now remember, they said there's no tangible evidence. Boston magazine says ancient tablets reveal the life of Jews in Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon. Now I follow the biblical principle of 2 or 3 witnesses. The Huffington Post says 2,500-year-old Jewish tablets discovered in Iraq. Now what did they discover? It says the discovery is a remarkable confirmation of the historical reliability of the biblical text. So the very book that we read can be relied upon. Amen.
Amen.
They even said they described this tablet a town called Al-Yahuda, the village of the Jews by the river Kibar, mentioned in Ezekiel chapter 1 and verse 1. So our very Bible, brothers and sisters, is historically accurate and it can be relied upon.
Amen.
Why are the amen so quiet? Now, for those of you who have been to the British Museum, this is a tablet they discovered in the 19th century. None of us can read cuneiform. If we can, I'd love to learn it. But this is a cuneiform tablet. It made it look very insignificant. But this tablet in the British Museum actually records when Nebuchadnezzar invaded Jerusalem. Now this is in the British Museum. If you ever have time to go down to London, if you want me to give you guys a tour, I've given 2 tours here from this church already.
Amen. Amen.
And I do it for free. Amen. And when I go to the British Museum, I remember I took a Pentecostal woman there 2 years ago. And she walked out, she said, my faith has now been renewed. Because reading the Bible is one thing, but when you can see the tangible evidence in your face, that's a different ballgame.
Yes.
So this tablet, Nebuchadnezzar has actually documented when he invaded Jerusalem. Can you rely on prophets, brothers and sisters?
Yes.
Now this is an article from the London Guardian newspaper. Now even the Guardian newspaper uses Bible prophecy for satire.
Yeah.
It uses Belshazzar's feast that were weighed in a balance and found wanting.
Yeah.
Even they know that the book of Daniel is accurate.
Yeah.
Why would they use that? Every time I watch the news and they're going to talk about someone who's going to fall, they always say, why don't they follow the writing on the wall? Why are they saying that? Now listen to this in Daniel chapter 7 verse 1. In the first year of who? King of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions above his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dreams and told the son of the matter. So Daniel tells us the exact monarch who was ruling when he wrote this prophecy. Now what is very interesting is that in the 19th century, archaeologists, or critics I should say, were saying, look, there is no evidence that Belshazzar ever existed. Now what is interesting, in Daniel chapter 5 verses 1 and 18, it mentions Belshazzar as Nebuchadnezzar's son.
Yeah.
Now in the 19th century, if you go to the British Museum again, they found this tablet, and when they deciphered the cuneiform, they found Belshazzar's name on the tablet. But scholars were saying, well look, all right. Daniel is right, but he's the son of Nabonidus, not Nebuchadnezzar. So they said, now your Bible is false. But something else happened. This man here called Sir Austin Henry Layard, he was the man who excavated ancient Babylon in the 19th century. He was a descendant of the French Huguenots. And he said the term son of appears to have been used throughout the East in those days, as it still is, to denote the connection generally either by descent or succession. So he verified once again that the book of Daniel is accurate. Now in the Medo-Persian section, they found this tablet in ancient Iraq or ancient Iran. I can't remember where they found it. And on this tablet was written a name called Cyrus. And Cyrus was a name written not only in the book of Daniel, but it was also prophesied 200 years in the book of Isaiah. Where Isaiah prophesied that he would lay the foundation of the temple. And then in Ezra chapter 1, that prophecy was fulfilled. So not only is the Bible historically accurate, but prophetically accurate.
Amen. Yeah.
Why are men so quiet?
Amen. Amen. Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, they've restructured the Babylonian section of the British Museum. But they actually found these cylinder seals dated to the 7th century BC. So we have a picture of what the Chaldeans and the astrologers actually looked like, how they dressed, the offerings they were giving. They used to offer offerings to the moon god and to the cock. The cock was a symbol of the sun. So these are the type of men who Daniel was head of. These were men he had in his cabinet because he was the head of the prison. So we saw when they found these artifacts, they actually verified that the Chaldeans and the astrologers and all these men actually did exist in Nebuchadnezzar's court. And in the 19th century, a French Assyriologist by the name of Francois Lamont wrote this very powerful book. It's very hard to get. You can probably get it on Amazon.com or AD Books. And he said the language of the book of Daniel, interspersed as it is in various places in Greek words, proves without doubt that the definitive translation as it possesses is posterior or precedes to the time of Alexander. But the foundation of the work dates much further back. It is tinged with a very decided Babylonian tint, and certain features of the life of the court of Nebuchadnezzar and his successors are depicted with the truth and exactitude to which a writer of a few centuries earlier could hardly have attained. So this historian said the book of Daniel had to have been written in around the 7th century BC. Now in the British Museum as well, there is this artifact here. It may look insignificant to you guys out there, but it's a liver. And in the ancient occult world, people used to practice occult divination through the liver. In some parts of Africa this very day, there are still some tribes who kill an animal, open up the liver, and try to tell the future. Now Ezekiel, in chapter 21 and verse 21, he actually documented that the Babylonians truly indeed practiced divination by looking in the liver. So these prophets were given eyewitness accounts of what they saw in Babylon. Can you rely on prophets?
Yes.
Now the prophet Ezekiel mentioned Daniel not once in Ezekiel chapter 14 and verse 14. Not twice in Ezekiel chapter 14 and verse 20. But 3 times. So he was so revered by this other prophet that he wasn't mentioned once.
3 times.
Not twice. But 3 times. So this prophet had to have something about him where Ezekiel mentioned him 3 times. Now, in the book of Daniel, chapter 1, verses 1 and 3, it mentions the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came who?
Nebuchadnezzar.
And who was he?
King of Babylon.
And what did he do?
Deceived.
So the artifact we just saw a while ago verified that Nebuchadnezzar invaded Babylon, and Daniel recorded the exact same thing. Amen? And the king spake unto Ashkenaz, the master of the eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children. Remember it says what? Certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the who? Okay. Now in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 24 and verse 1, when he described the invasion of Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar, it says, the Lord showed me, and behold, 2 baskets of figs were set before the temple of the Lord. After that who? Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried away captive Jeconiah, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and who? Of Judah, with the carpenters and the smiths from Jerusalem, and had brought them to Babylon. So we just see in both texts, it mentions the name of the king of Babylon and the princes, and we see that the king of Babylon and the princes are mentioned twice. So from these 2 texts, we can get a picture that Daniel was a member of the nobility. Now, in Jeremiah chapter 39 and verse 3, it mentions a name of one of Nebuchadnezzar's princes, or his elite, called Nebo-Sarsekim. I'm not pronouncing it wrong, so please have mercy upon me. So Nebo-Sarsekim, or Sarsekim. Now, very recently, in the 1820s, they found a tablet, and it was lying in the British Museum for years and years and years and years and years. And only very recently, they found this tablet. It looks very insignificant. Now remember, Daniel and Jeremiah were writing at the exact same time. his talent looks insignificant. But this is the very official website of the British Museum. It says, clay tablet with 6 and 1/4 lines of inscription, late Babylonian administrator. The tablet gives the name and title of a high-ranking Babylonian officer who, according to who?
Jeremiah.
Was present at the historic siege of Jerusalem in 587 BC. Can we rely on our prophet, brothers and sisters?
Amen.
The London Daily Telegraph, which is known as the most renowned paper in Britain, it says how the tablet provides proof
For the Old Testament.
for Old Testament. It says this is a fantastic discovery, a world-class find, Dr. Finkel said.
Yeah.
If Nemo Sarcesca existed,
Yeah.
which other figures in the Old Testament existed, a throwaway detail in the Old Testament turns out to be accurate and true. I think that it means that the whole of the narrative of Jeremiah takes on a new kind of power. This is the world speaking, brothers and sisters. So they're saying that the very Bible, which for years people were saying is unreliable, inaccurate, they're now saying it has to be reliable. Now Jeremiah chapter 46, verses 1 and 2. It says, the word of the Lord which came to the prophet, Jeremiah the prophet, against the Gentiles. Now who are these Gentiles? It says against Egypt, against the army of who? Of who?
Pharaoh Necho.
Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, which was by the river Euphrates in Carchemish, which Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, smote in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah. So 3 different kingdoms are mentioned. Judah, Egypt, and Babylon. Can we rely on prophets?
Yes.
Are they reliable sources?
Yeah.
Is our Bible an outdated book, or can it be relied upon? In the British Museum, there's 2 rooms, one upstairs, or one downstairs, which has Nebuchadnezzar's name on it. And we see that this time period is in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, which is around, I think the 4th is around 604 BC. So we know the exact time period when this was taking place.
Yeah.
So we can see that Nebuchadnezzar was a reliable king, but also, when they started to decipher the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, they found a king by the name of Pharaoh Necho in the 26th dynasty, who is mentioned not only in the book of Jeremiah, but also in the book of Kings and the book of Chronicles. So here we can see that the very Bible that we are reading, we can rely upon it wholeheartedly. Amen?
Amen.
Because over the years, I've seen so many people, especially young people who are in my Sabbath school, say, oh, how can you trust in the Bible? How do you know it's true? You've tried it for years and years and years and years and years. And we have to be able to know how to defend our faith confidently. I want to do a couple of more slides. In Jeremiah chapter 36 and verse 4. Now remember, the reason I'm mentioning Jeremiah and Ezekiel, because these are co-prophets with Daniel. So we have to show that history co-aligns with each other. All these prophets are writing around the same time, and they can all be relied upon. So everything is working in sync. So in Jeremiah chapter 36 and verse 4, Jeremiah, if you guys are familiar with the book, throughout most of his ministry, he was getting beaten up, being slapped in his face, he was jailed, he was shut up in prison. It got to a stage where they were just going to leave him for dead. And throughout most of this book, it's one of my favorite books, and that's the book which helped me to stand. Because I realized, as I was telling people over the years, that the most dangerous people you meet in your Christian walk is your own church people. It is not going to be outsiders. People always say, sir, aren't you worried about the Vatican? And the government? I said, no, I worry about people in my own church because they're the most dangerous. And I said I talk from experience. Because when God's people want to target you and they want to destroy you, they'll do everything in their power to see that you're destroyed. But when God's on your side, they have to behave themselves. So when I read the book of Jeremiah, I get strength. Because even though he was getting beaten, even though there are times, Jeremiah wanted to give up being a prophet. Jeremiah, I think it's in chapter 23, he said, you know what, God? I'm sick and tired of this prophet thing. I've been beaten up. They're cursing me out. They're making me like a fool. You know what? Keep a prophet to yourself. But then as we move further on down through the verses, he said, you know what? I have to continue the work. Because when you're under pressure and you're on your own and there's no one there to support you, you do start to question yourself. And Jeremiah was under intense pressure. But this book can be relied upon. And a number of years ago, Jeremiah 36 and verse 4, Jeremiah had someone who also write his words for him when he was in prison. There was a guy called Baruch, the son of Neriah. Now a number of years ago, they found this cylinder seal dated to the 7th century BC. Now I can't read even modern Hebrew, furthermore ancient Hebrew. But they found Baruch, Neriah, the son of Neriah the scribe, perfectly in this clay Buddha, which is in the Jerusalem Museum in Israel. And it shows that the book of Jeremiah, the book of Daniel, and the book of Ezekiel can be relied upon. Do you, brothers and sisters, can you rely on prophets?
Yes.
Because our people are being beaten up to and fro, and they are beginning to question the word of God. Can we rely on prophets?
Yes.
Every single one of us have to get to a stage where we have to go back and study the books for ourselves. We have to be able to stand firm on the rock, which is Christ Jesus.
Amen.
As much as you may like the speaker, as much as you may love the preacher, everything which is presented to you, you have to go back and research. I stress this in my videos. I stress this even when I used to do Bible studies with the young people. I say, go back and research it for yourselves. We have to, every single one of us, get to a stage where we have to be totally dependent upon God, totally. Let me give a text before I end the study. As I said, this one is just laying the groundwork, because you have to have a foundation in these studies. And during this week, I'm going to show you how to study the Bible, the book of Daniel, so simply. I'm going to make the book of Daniel so simple that you're going to be like, it's very simple to understand. So go to the book of Luke chapter 6. And I want to leave you with this text. When you read this text and meditate upon it, I guarantee you, and I'll give you a promise, no matter how intellectual somebody is, no matter how intense Satan's temptations are, when you follow this principle, no one will be able to test you. No one. So Luke chapter 6, verses 47 and 48. I've given this text many times here before. If you follow this text, I guarantee you, no one will be able to challenge you. So during this week, I'm going to go into the different kingdoms, but today I'm just laying the foundation. Can you rely on prophets? Luke chapter 6, verses 47 and 48. These are the words of Christ. I still hear leaves rustling, so I won't go until I hear the last leaf. These are the words of Christ. Whosoever comes to me, number one, and heareth my sayings, number two, and this is where many of us have a struggle with and do with them, I will show you to whom he is like.
Amen.
He is like a man which built an house and did what? And did what? Digged deep and laid the foundation on a rock. Not a man, not a church, but on a rock. And when the flood arose and the stream beat vehemently or violently upon that house, and what does the Bible say?
Could not
And
shake it.
could
Not
not
shake it.
shake it. Why? For it's founded upon a rock. You see, when your foundation is so solid in Christ, nothing can shake it.
Amen.
A man can come with false doctrines. A man can come with atheistic ideas. When your foundation is rooted, Christ said, listen, nothing can shake you. Christ didn't say you're not going to go through trials. He didn't say you're not going to get challenged. He didn't say there's not going to be times you're going to question me. But he said when your foundation is so rooted in me that anything people come to you with, it won't be able to shake you. And I encourage you that your foundation has to be so solid that anything anybody tells you, you go back and research it for yourself. I'll just give one more text. I did say that was the last text, but sometimes I get carried away. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15. This will be the last text. If it's not, then it's the Holy Spirit. Amen. So 2 Peter.
Timothy.
I'll just see if the amen. So 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15.
Timothy.
Yeah, chapter 2. And as I said, this study today is just laying the foundation. I'll go through the other days. I'm going to show you why the book of Daniel was written. And we're going to do that tomorrow. Why was the book of Daniel written? What is the real aim of the book of Daniel? And that's what we're going to deal with tomorrow. Why was the book of Daniel written? So 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15. The Bible says, study to show thyself approved unto man. Unto who? Okay. See, I just like to test the congregation, amen. A workman that needed not to be ashamed. And what should we be doing? Rightly dividing the word of truth. So the Bible gives us clear instruction. Study to show yourself approved unto God. When you study, I was speaking to some young people in my church, and I said to them, the more you read, the more you expand your thinking. Now sometimes you talk to young people, they're thinking, they're saying, yeah. One of these young people, he no longer goes to my church, he now goes to a different church. He phoned me up the other day. And he said, Adrian, guess what? Everything you told me is true. The more you read, the more you expand your thinking. And when you encourage people in these things, trust me, when you plant that seed, people will take heed. So I encourage you as God's people, all the texts people given today, I pray that you've written them down, and I pray that you go back and study. This study today, as I said, was laying the foundation. And as we go through the study each day, we're going to go deeper and deeper into the Word. I really want God's people to get to a stage where they can give these studies for themselves. Amen. You know, I've been telling people for too long, we're relying on man too much. And we have to get to a stage where even a child can give a Bible study in the book of Daniel. Let's pray. Dear Father in heaven, we just want to thank you, Lord, that you've looked at every single one of us and you can see that there is something worth saving. We are living in the end times, dear Lord, but we should be worried, we should be scared, because we know, dear Lord, that you're going to take care of us. Lord, I'm praying for this church, and not just Yardley Church, but God's church worldwide. Because, dear Lord, things are happening which is going to shake us. And I'm praying, Lord, that this church will get on their knees and pray. We have to get to a stage, Lord, where every single one of us can make an individual stand for their faith. Many of us have no idea that our neighbors are watching us. Our work colleagues are watching us. Our university colleagues are watching us and they're studying us, and we have no idea. And I'm praying, Lord, that each day as we study, that our lives can grow closer and closer to you, so that we can be the only Christ that they'll ever see. So I'm praying, Lord, that this church will really develop their walk. And I'm praying, the Lord, that through this week, the Holy Spirit will be in this place. Amen. The Lord, we know sometimes it's very hard for people to come out because there's so much distractions. Our very phones, the Lord, are a distraction. But I pray, Lord, that they will come out each night, Lord, and they will go deep into the Word and study for themselves. Please help the people, dear Lord. I know we are in a Laodicean condition, Lord, but I know that you're going to take us out of this Laodicean condition. So please just bless your church, Lord, and as we continue during this week, I pray that every study and every text which is given will be to the glory of your name. So just bless us, dear Lord. In Jesus' holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen.